Hello everyone, and welcome to another Siege and Sandfox live stream. I'm the designer of the project, Chris Wilson, and joining me as usual is Aidan Howell.
Hi there.
Hello! Okay, let's get straight over to the game. I'm trying to think if there's anything... Actually, yeah, all the stuff is in-game. I can show it straight away. Oh look, loads of lovely debug text. So, where did we leave it last time? I remember because there's some stuff going on straight away with the prompts which I want to bring up, because this one is still the same, but I know immediately, I know that one is, I lied. But then the very next one, I want to point this out. So Keith just threw these in earlier, and he was like, oh yeah, I'll make the one that's broken, like obviously broken, so you'll know that those don't work. And I was expecting it to be like covered in pink or something, so I really annoyed him by going, Keith, what's going on with this? But apparently,
this is the obviously broken thing that
Yeah.
I told you was obviously broken.
yeah, but it was broken in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Not
Anyway,
so obvious
so-
after all.
I will skip that one because it's not very useful, but this brings up something cool that Mr. Joe Wintergreen has implemented for us. If I hop over here, there we go. So we have it with the pad, and if I go over to the keyboard, oh my god!
Marvelous.
So a minor thing in sort of visuals, but actually under the hood, it's one of those things that...
Just got to get that shift key looking right.
Yes, exactly. Sorry. The chat actually has people in it. Hey, Fresh Lemonade. I haven't seen you in a while, but it's good to see you again. And, oh my god. Oh, this is so flattering. And Cryptic Hybrid says, hey, what's new with the most awesome looking 2D UE4 game to date?
I don't know,
Oh,
we should
you.
ask him.
You can come back again. Yes, sorry, it's for the prompts and stuff. We'll get to the exciting graphical stuff later, but this has been something that we've been putting off for ages, and I mentioned to Joe, and he's like, oh yeah, I kind of have a thing for that, so it exists, and yeah, it's just scaling issues now.
Great. I saw that Sticky Satan has been fixed as well.
It has.
Just on that first jump there was very obviously Sticky Satan free.
Let's go back and mention that, because we're so used to this bug now.
Because even looking at you play the controller here, it actually looks significantly better behaved just visually. So
it
good.
is. So yeah, for those unaware of Sticky Satan, that was an issue.
Our bug nomenclature, which is highly professional.
Something that keeps coming back, but it's fun. Is so normally what we want in this situation is if I jump straight up on the way up, I don't want to attach to the wall. So if I just press A and jump, then I will grab the top. What was happening, I think I can just replicate it by pushing the stick, maybe. Let's see. No, you kind of can. But you'd stick on the way up, and obviously that is weird. And yeah, Rex managed to fix that alongside a bunch of other stuff as well, which I'll mention when we get to the points where I can demonstrate it. But yeah, no, that's nice. Most of this week, to be honest, I have been hammering controller stuff, like stuff that I've sort of normally let slide because, hey, it was wartime and we just needed to get anything. Now, I just kind of latch onto things and just keep hassling Rex until they get fixed, which I'm sure he loves. To be honest, actually, it's got easier because something I could probably show another time, but the thing we use for the playtest, where having the pad on screen and stuff, I've just been able to send him like loads of little videos with that on and, been able to replay them quite quickly, so that's nice. And again, while we're just talking about some UI stuff, my little thing here, there's lots of little situations where I'm just trying to make sure like I get those last couple of % of people who aren't quite sure what's happening. We actually had some separate bugs with this little checkpoint thing where it used to activate every time you walked up to it, and most people still kind of got what it was and didn't really care, but some people just were really interested in what it did. So we fixed it so that it only activates once, and also we put some text underneath it, which I see that Ed has said, maybe that should read, checkpoint saved, not saved checkpoint. I thought that, but I just wanted the function in. I didn't actually suggest what the text should say, so I'm going to blame Keith. No, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what it should say yet, but hey, someone has strong feelings, so that is good. I think the important thing is just the first time it should probably say something, just again, to capture those few people who are extra inquisitive and might be thinking, what is this? And Cryptic Hybrid says this character is like a tiny, cute Garrett from Thief, and Ed is very happy about that because Thief is a big inspiration behind the art in this game. Right, so yeah, this is another one of these obviously broken prompts. That's fine, we know about that.
Although most of these prompts are we had the flower in last time, right? But we've got a lot more in terms of jumps.
Yep.
I do like our font as well. Now we get to see it more. It reminds me of Monkey Island. Makes me smile.
Yeah, it's good. So nothing has really changed in this area, so I'll move through relatively quickly. And Cryptic Hybrid asks, do enemies have a cone of visions like the player character? They definitely do. It's not the same shape, but they have a series of cones. And what I will say is it's actually been quite a while since we've spoken much about AI stuff at all. So while I'm not going to talk about it too much today, I'm definitely going to talk about it again soon, because we finally sort of got to a situation where it's stabilized, and I'm happy to talk a bit more about it again. I'm trying to think if the debug is still accessible. You know what? When the AI turn up, I'll see if I can activate the cones. And if it doesn't work this time, we'll definitely talk about them again soon.
Yeah, and AI now is going to see a lot more progress, I think.
Oops.
I mean, we've started implementing new AI types, which we haven't actually done in months now. You know, we've just been rocking with our basic seeks you out and knocks you out guy. Whereas actually now we need them to do more advanced stuff to traverse around, because they're not a huge threat to you when they can't climb ladders or jump or whatever. So yeah.
Here's an area where I've spent a fair amount of time, and I've also been using a debug thing that Joe put in for us. So if I press left stick down and left bumper, I can set a point that I can just return to like this, which is very handy. So I'll see how many of these bugs have been fixed. I think most of them. I'll start with the one that I think hasn't. Let's see if it hasn't. Yeah, there you go. I can still run backwards for a little bit. That's a fun one. But I'll tell you how I got started on this. Something I can go into a bit more depth another time. I had on my list something to do and go through and like really nerf the air control, because I saw people doing crazy things. Stuff like jumping off here and being able to like completely sort of, U-shape back underneath it. And at first I just thought, in some states, actually it's been fixed now. In some states, we're just giving people too much air control. And actually what I realized was happening was more that if you timed it just right or just wrong, depending on your opinion, you start to be doing that walking backwards I'm doing down there and be able to just like flip round. So it actually took quite a while to get that sorted. But now I think you basically can't do it. I think you either fall straight down or you kind of follow that arc, which is about right. So actually I think the air control is, it probably still needs a little nudge, but the points where I thought, oh my god, this is crazy, like at first I was just going to cut it in half. I was like, oh, actually no, I think it's just a series of bugs that are making it seem a lot worse than it is. Right, just going to do this. Don't think too much has changed.
It seems like the initial I get why that's happening.
What's that?
Just the shaft of BizCone that you had underneath you there.
Oh yeah,
moved forward.
Yeah, I should point out for those just joining us this time. So we obviously know there are issues with this, this visibility occlusion.
Yep,
Ben's
like
still
that.
working on it.
Like that right there.
Yes, Ben's still working on it at the moment.
Yep.
I don't think you should easily be able to return to a point farther back. Sorry, Ed's saying in relation to the jumping stuff, I don't think you should be able to easily return to a point farther back than where you jumped from. I agree. And those were the things I started looking at first. And so far, all the times I've seen people do it, I think actually, as I said, it was more related to this bug than just the expected amount of air control. I agree, there's probably still too much. Like, I'll flick this just not to annoy myself, but if I try, it's still a bit much. But I guess the thing for me was that when I was trying to diagnose these issues, those bugs were just masking it so heavily that I thought, well, look, if I change any values now, I'm just going to make it even harder to tell what's actually happening. So I will look at them. But also tomorrow I will finally do the points of interest stuff to stop the camera being in the wrong place for this bit. And another area, if you remember last week, I was having trouble with this. I'm still having some trouble, but me and Rex have been working on this today, actually. And, of course, famous last words. Yes, it seems a bit better. It's not... Give it a few goes. Yeah, it's much improved. I'll be honest, in this instance, I don't actually know what he did. But I was able to show him my video of it not working for me. And actually, he was like, oh, that's a good repro case for it. I think he was struggling to repro it every time. But I could there. Who knows? So
surprising how much better this place looks with the visibility occlusion.
Yeah, it's It's getting there. It's getting there. It's starting to feel nice. You know, especially when you have like, strong light sources like, these mushrooms and stuff, and then they cut in and out. But now it's got a bit of a softness to the edges as well. It's nice.
Particles aren't colliding anymore.
Yeah, that fell off a little while ago. I'm sure it can. Well, I know it can return. I imagine. I think a lot of stuff fell off because when we changed the literal player class, I think a lot of stuff that checked for overlaps just doesn't anymore. There's been a few things like that. And sorry, just going back to that, Ed is saying in relation to the ledge grab issues, I believe it works when you attach from above, not below. Yeah, I think the issues were mostly if you're kind of falling onto it rather than jumping up into it. And I think Rex has fixed most of them. I'm not going to bore everyone by trying it over and over like I was earlier, but it seems better, but not fixed. So this is about the same. I see Ed's solution here to our great thing is just to split the difference and put it in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did. Because
you did it?
I was no. That's what I did initially.
Okay.
Along this stuff when this was all being done, I do that a lot, but I just think they look stupid in the middle.
Okay.
I like to have it so that if there's a vent corridor, then they're vents that are where you expect the vents to be, flush to the wall. We just need a broken open variant. You know, in the middle there just seems odd to me.
Okay, no, that's fine. This was, this at the moment, it's just below the category of stuff I was really worried about. I just noticed that it had moved, and I figured it was best to discuss here. And Ed says, I'm also thinking about how to open grates flush with flat walls and raised off the ground. I'm thinking, what do you mean? Flush with flat wall? Yes, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, and no. Like, we don't. They're one of the main things that we use to gate is that you can't open a closed grate up a wall, so you have to get into the tunnel on the other side of it to open a route.
I was going to say, right, it's like it comes down to being a level design thing. It's like that will be done with intent that you can't do it.
Yeah,
so
I mean, we may change our mind and go, actually, this sucks and we don't want to do it, but it's been really useful for that. So
incidentally, this is still my favorite thing ever. It's like it looks so good.
Anyway, that to my mind is not a fix. I think what we lose from just putting that thing in the middle is that the open grate was really inviting, and was a good subtle piece of telegraphing to say, hey, jump up here, there's a door open.
Yeah, no, I'm down with that. I said this is something I spotted and thought, you know what, let's talk about it. Let's do it live rather than just do it live. Yes. Good. That's what I was going to say. So another thing to mention, the prompts have fallen off this, and I actually managed to find out why. It's nothing too complicated. I could just see, for those that are sort of slightly more interested in the stuff behind the scenes in that regard, I think Rex has added a few more sort of complexity regarding which side you're on, if you're on the left or the right. So he has a check to say if the player has been detected on the left or the right, they're close enough to activate it. Unfortunately, the prompts are all looking for the old bull that was just like, is the player close enough in general? So they're all there, they just never turn on. It's a little fix he's going to chuck in a bit later. But anyway, enough of that. So let's have a look over it here. Something I have noticed is that these guys are becoming quite unreliable at setting off, but I've not had a chance to look at why. But using that placeholder animation, it works all right. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good for free. It almost looks like they know what they're doing. I've genuinely forgotten how I've made that other guy move. I think he moves when the first guy walks past you. Who knows? Anyway, I will look at him again. And the thing to point out here, again, related to the kind of labeling the save points and some of the other stuff, I think only one person really tried this, but now I just want to try, it's offset, but having an icon that's like, hey, well, you can't do this, maybe in the future. And Cryptic Hybrid says the walk animation is quite confident looking. Yeah, it's a bit of
certain amount of swagger there.
Yeah. I think the hands sort of give the cautious bit, and maybe the rest is a bit like, yeah, I got this. So I'll see how this goes down. It's one of these things where I can't tell if that looks like what I hope it looks like, but we'll just see. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
I'm just imagining all the walk cycles to Smooth Criminal now, and it works.
Yeah. But anyway, more crucially than that, that was just to kind of, well, we've captured the state. I might as well see if an icon seals it or not. But the important thing is now, if I press X, you can't actually attack them. So we have this situation in the past where people would try and attack them when we don't really want them to, and it kind of, messes things up. And also, before we had this context system, you could say press the attack button when you were like here, and they would hear it and turn around and kill you, which just always just feels bad, like feels clumsy in a way that doesn't suit the character. So now we're set up in the future to have you only being able to attack when you actually can. And I just want to see if this does the job. Because while in our last test, we didn't have people having too much trouble with it. As I said, there were one or two people who didn't appreciate what was happening there. So we'll see.
Yeah. However, Chris, can you see the view cones?
Oh yes. Let's push some buttons. Not that one, but maybe this one, and then some of these. Can you tell I haven't done this for a while? Oh, maybe it doesn't work anymore. Oh, maybe. I love the way I'm literally just pressing all the buttons. I think it's fallen off the wagon, the actual showing of it. So let me just check one more thing. Yeah, I think it's wandered off.
But they do have a number of view
codes. They do have.
Many of our historical archive of streams focused quite intensely on how AI was.
Yes.
But probably are only somewhat relevant to how AI is now.
Yes.
So I guess we'll revisit this stuff in the coming weeks as a lot more work gets done on AI, because we've been stuck with these red jerseys, as we call them, for forever. And now we're starting to implement exciting new AI types like other types of red jersey and rats, which has me super excited.
I noticed, by the way, this works like completely properly now, as in the occlusion just cuts them off. And the thing is, I thought that would look weird, as in like, if I have it like this. Yeah, but actually, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't know. We'll see. Sorry, just catching up on the chat.
Where it might look weird is when they walk through that central corona there where it's faded in.
Yeah.
Actually, are they going to get alarmed by you if you go up and try and tickle them?
They do, but they're not very effective at the moment. But let's see if they do. Do they fade out with that? Just the floor, isn't it? They don't. I think they're fine for that. Anyway, sorry, let me just catch up on the chat. So Ed says, forcing this playstyle at the start at least hopefully puts them in the right frame of mind for a stealth game. Yeah, that's part of it. I think if you gave people a weapon, the second you give someone a weapon, they want to use it, which is fair. So we want to, in situations here where we can, the only way to progress through this room is by hiding from them, basically. Like, so if you try and do anything else, they will kill you. That is the lesson of this room. So we force that. And related to this, Keith is saying, still feel that not letting players attack at the game start and having some narration is the way forward. This symbol would not be needed then. Yeah, I mostly agree with you. The symbol is purely, as I said, by way of building up all these context systems to have the player itself and the enemies and everything know the context, right? They know that I am close enough to attack, but I am not able to. I was like, well, we can throw in an icon and see how it works for the playtest, because the other stuff that you correctly mentioned we won't have yet. Can I turn this off? Yes. Because I agree, if we give them some kind of, how overtly we do it, don't know, but if we tell them that they're looking for their weapon, that obviously tells them that they don't have one and that they're going to get one. And in that situation, you probably don't need to do that. But as we was kind of so close to that anyway, and this is for the build for December, so that's like December 15th, that's like 2 weeks.
Yep.
So, it was either that or nothing. And I was like, yeah, oops. I just want to see if that does anything positive or negative. Oops.
Particles aren't colliding.
Yeah, as I said, I think that happened a little while ago. And I'm sure that's something we can look at next week, because I nearly have everything I need now. So the same thing happened with these little lock prompts. They fell off for the same reason, but they will return, just so you know. Again, I'm interested to see. I hope that it reads as Well, this is something I can interact with at a different time, not something I can never interact with. But, again, we'll see. It's kind of the point.
I think it's the same as the knife, really. Bothering to have put the icon in there is the belt and braces approach to making sure that they get it. And if they don't, I don't really know what we do.
Yeah. I agree. Oh, no. Someone left Steam running. What an idiot. I can just I normally don't actually have it running anymore, but busted.
Steam always finds a way.
It always finds a way. If it's not Steam, it's Steam VR, which I literally uninstalled because I got sick of the thing just appearing every 5 seconds. But anyway, we will come back to this because we're nearly done. I'll come back to it very soon. But that's one of the things we were talking about last week. But I'll just finish off the actual intended demo run.
That's a good note to VR hardware vendors. It may surprise you to learn that we aren't actually using them all the time. So maybe assuming that we are is a little bit offensive.
Yeah, Fresh Lemonade says, the Steam VR app is the worst. It's pretty proactive. It really wants you to be using that VR. Okay.
The worst is strong as long as the Oculus Control Center is still around. It's a much more annoying thing to have loading up when you just want to do some editor work on your 2D game.
Yes.
Oh, hey, you want a 3D VR environment? Nope. Why would you assume I do? But hey.
Right. So I'll just get to this end bit just to wrap everything up. He needs to be doing something a bit more interesting, but we'll find something. He's fine for now.
We need to get some kind of background props that they can go and busy themselves with. When that came up in conversation with Joe, I mean, that was bread and butter on Outsider was, hey, go over here and just go to this smart object and do some smoking. Yeah, more often than not, it was smoking. Because, you have an animator at your desk and they're saying, well, we've got to have some idols for these people. And there are only so many you can think of before.
This is a good thing. I think we're definitely getting towards it. And I think actually now there's kind of scope for me to pick up doing second, slightly more focused streams and come back to the AI because, we now just have the functionality to, in a nice manner, do that. Like, for example, here, obviously, he's doing nothing. But we could easily place an object here, even if it's just not physical, but just an area, and you can say to him that, hey, if these conditions are met, which would be, in this situation, like not alert, not chasing anyone, that sort of thing, then I don't know, you can do an idle, whatever our equivalent of smoke is. Or
go and busy yourself with those brown paper Christmas presents. That
or that, exactly. But we can do stuff like that now. You know what, you're in my way, but at the moment you're just dumb enough that it's fine. Incidentally, actually, this is a good time to point out something else as well, that something Joe's looking at right now is this hilarious state. So he's not broken now, and he knows that he can see me, but he has no way to reach me. In fact, I think some of this to some debug. There you go. So that's not the cone, but that's some of Joe's things for figuring things out. He's fully suspicious. He knows I'm there, just he can't jump yet, so there's nothing he can do. And I feel like of the stuff we've talked about, like Thief and Dishonored and stuff, where they chuck something at you or gesticulate in your direction is probably enough.
Just to acknowledge that they know that they're there.
Yeah. Shaking their
we have an issue
fist.
with ranged attacks that we don't actually have health in the game. Not that never say never, but it's very much, you get
situations like that are so far the strongest argument for any kind of ranged weapons, but there are many arguments against it, so I'm not not too
soft option is to have a ranged type, so that they can either call one in and we can spawn one cheekily off screen to come running and throw stuff at you, or just use a bit of design discipline in how we place them so they can be called there organically.
God damn it, Steam, you're so persistent. There we go. Yes, sorry. So, back to where we were before. None of this was here last week, right? In the stream.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Good. That's what I thought.
If you zoom out, there wasn't that massive hole either. See that massive hole?
Right.
Massive
okay.
Hole.
So I'll catch everyone up if they weren't here before. The area focused beyond our demo route. So for the playtest demo in December 15th, it ends just up here, just before reaching this person. And the aim is that takes hopefully about 15-20 minutes, and there were lots of things we needed to make sure people understood, so we spent a lot of time improving the actual prompts and a lot of that stuff. But the level design actually didn't change much. We just kind of made a few tweaks here and there to deny minor exploits that were preventing people from, like, actually using the abilities we want them to. Beyond that, I just see Cryptic Hybrid says, will the demo be made public? It won't, but you will see all the content from it. But it's not something to give out, because the point of these playtest demos is that we're observing someone play it 1-to-1, like almost over their shoulder. And outside of that situation, it doesn't really have any value, to be honest. There will be stuff in, we'll show you as much as possible, but in terms of actually handing over the keys, literally, we won't be doing that just yet.
No,
but anyway,
the use of the word demo, in terms of this being a game demo, it is very much a focus test build. So it hasn't been finessed in the kind of directions we would need an actual public demo to be, which would come a lot closer to launch than we are now. So never say never with regard to demos. I think people don't do demos, and I think they're very, very powerful tools for getting people to consider your game. But yeah, we couldn't possibly send this one out because it's just not ready.
It's not ready. But anyway, so that playtest thing ends just before here, aiming for about 15-20 minutes, and then we won't talk about it today because not too much is happening there just yet. But there's a section up here around to the right. But that kind of works, or it works well enough that we no. Fresh Lemonade says we don't have any value. Oh, you have value, but ouch. Right, so sorry, this bit we kind of know it will work. It doesn't yet, but it's it makes sense geographically. Around here we wanted to make some changes. Now the thing was, here this room just kept ending up being important, and something I realized pretty quickly is, I want to say mostly accidentally, depends how much you want to lie about it, that we just realized that the shape of this room, it's got this lovely sort of arrow point right in both directions. And it was the perfect situation for setting up our first unlock, first ability unlock, that lets you move around, do different stuff. Now to start with, I thought, well, this is where our unlock goes. Literally here, it's this dates me very much, and I don't know why it's my go-to example, but it just is. It's like the mega health in Doom. The first time you see one of those, you're like, how do I get to that weird glowing blue thing? I just don't know. But
we know how to, Chris, don't we?
What? Yes. If
that's how you get a mega health.
You'll be worried.
Yeah, that doesn't date you if you don't know what that is.
But we were halfway there. So I think this point when we both spotted it was very important. But actually, it's more important for driving player exploration. The deal is here that we'll let them see something that looks notably different to the environment they've spent the last 20-30 minutes in, maybe more. And we'll want them to go, well, I really want to get there, and not even realizing, they need something else. The other important factor about organizing it this way is that you need them to come back to this room in a different way and already be sort of pointing to that. So I knew that this point was important, that we wanted them to return to, and I knew that this side of it up here was where we wanted the second access point that you probably wouldn't notice the first time through. And the cool thing is, right, if you drop down here, you'll already be pointing this way, and because you would have been here recently, we have to get this right. You'll go, I remember this. Oh, and now I can get there. So those points were the two most important, and everything else is kind of extrapolating from that. And just to pick up on some chat, so Cryptic Hybrid says, will enemies make use of audio cues when patrolling? Definitely. Again, hate to keep saying it, but soon we'll talk about it. But yeah, there's going to be some cool audio stuff that will not only make it obvious to the player what's going on, but also they'll be able to do some, for the type of game, fairly, fairly, oh look, it's like our audio guy is there to help. Yes, so Bren, echo level there is filling in on the details, but yeah, cool stuff is coming in that regard. Okay, sorry, so where was I? Yes, this whole setup. So the things I said last week was, this is the point you want to return to, and this is the way you're going to return to it. Beyond that, I was just like, yeah, I don't know. And I think the only other thing was, hey, this space over here, this big missing chunk, some of these features are cool. Can we steal those? And it turns out we can. So maybe you can talk a bit about the stealing.
The stealinating. Zoom out a bit so we can see.
Certainly.
See the because then we can see, just pan it up just a touch. Now, as we know, I understand the map through Periodelia, So we've got the dragon head. If people can see it from just me saying
Oops.
that, it's in there if you can see it. I mean, the best one's up in where you start. Actually, we've got the big mustachioed man, which isn't quite so good because you don't have lights on. Who's it's the midden
Hang
nexus.
on, I can
Turn lights on, and you can see his fancy eyes.
That's. I think I would work this way just a little bit.
Yeah.
Where are we looking? Sorry.
Midden nexus.
Yes, I see it. But
Oh
anyway,
no, he's the old one that got ruined. No. He had the little keep moustache. Midden nexus, not at the top.
this.
Look at him. Marvelous. So anyway, you get there and you ride the lift down, and you get to see access through that little hole in the double barrel lift. So that's where you would naturally come out. So once you've done your lift shuffle, you've gone down to the bottom, you've sent the other lift back, the other lift comes down, you get on that lift, you ride it back up again, you pop out that hole. So delicious rat events here aside, which I won't talk about, you would probably naturally go down into that little hole there. Someone might continue left, doesn't really matter, but they'll be rebuffed by the height of that jump. So that's a wall run gate there. That's 5 tiles high. That's our universal signal to the player when it's 1 tile higher than what you can manage with a jump. That's a wall runnable thing. So the only way you're getting up there is through wall run. So you would backtrack, back up, proceed along the top line of this, and then we have a really naff gate here where it just does 3 wall runnable things. Well, 2 wall runnable things, and then you drop into the room, which has got your unlock there, which is wall run. Ignore that hole in the floor. It should be a grate.
Yes.
And the only way out of this room, because that door to the left is locked, the grate underneath is locked, although it gives you a tantalizing view down below, is to wall run out of it and land on poor old Ghoul's head there, who probably needs moving to somewhere.
Not here, but he lives there now.
He'd be very tempting there. A little bit too on the nose putting him there. But yeah, we'll move him somewhere else. So once you've got wall run, you've wall run that thing because it's the only way out of that room, and look where you are. Marvelous.
It's nice.
So the intrepid player can jump over that gap and get back to that wall run they couldn't do before, realize doing that was pointless, and just use the super fun wall run to get back. And then they're in the corner of here, which leads them naturally along the column jumps to the wall run that they spotted before, probably rubbed up against that.
Yeah, I like it because as long as we have something here distinctive of some kind, doesn't matter too much. I like the idea that you see it and you go, oh, that's kind of interesting. I can't really get there. Maybe you have a go at trying, and then you come back around here and having this as a grate, so you'll get a look down. The occlusion will nicely frame whatever is in here. Hopefully, again, jogging their memory, they're like, yes, okay, I sort of remember that room, but I still don't know how to get to it. And then, as you say, you slot back in here, and then you're pretty close. And we can, of course, make nice use of the point of interest system to just give the camera a gentle nudge back over here.
That's a point, actually. If we can add a POI that's conditional on having wall run,
easy.
Pulls it over there, then that covers all cases, I think.
Yeah,
the first time through, you'll almost certainly clock that because it's a different biome to what you've seen so far. It's not caves, it's not prison. It's mausoleum, so you'll be a bit interested in seeing what's in there, but you won't be able to get there yet. So hopefully when you do that unlock, and you get that unlock looking directly down into that room anyway, it should be easy enough for the average player to do that route back, run up that wall, and then be in that chamber, which is where we want them to be, because they then need to proceed leftwards from there. So this whole bridge that we've had for a while had to be picked up, moved up, and cut in half. It already was cut in half. It'll need to be a cleaner cut than the one that I've done here, but cut in half and moved left by what, it was 1024 pixels exactly, I think. So we need to fill in that gap now with more bridge stuff to do.
That's me. That's me a long time ago.
Whoops.
That's fine.
So yeah, we need to fill in that bridge gap. It's entirely possible it might come left a little bit. I mean, I've spoken to Ed and Keith earlier this week about these changes, and they seem quite confident about filling that bridge gap in anyway. And there's some really cool repercussions for the stuff that goes on above there. So there's a cave section there, which proceeds left, which will bring you more towards more meaningful parts of the prison, and even towards the palace. If you proceed this way and not down, you would go up from there.
Sorry, I thought I'm always
You
drawn
just
to this. It's pretty.
just lovely, lovely towers, man. But yeah, that part there now actually can socket quite neatly onto the left side of our mustachioed man from earlier in the Midden Nexus.
Yes.
So we can
Oh,
access from there, which was always a problem with the flow of these sections before, was
Yes.
the left side of that place didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. So it
now,
will.
now it can. If you, for academic interest, I think probably what used to be in the gap where I moved the tower to is, if you zoom out, is probably floating above the map. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, this
That's what
room. I
used to
remember
be
this
there.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So where that midden, where that mausoleum tower is, that's actually what we used to have. That's a really cool bit of lift shaft design. So the neat thing about the way we're designing and building the levels is you end up with pretty much standard sized little ports that are, you know, 2 to 3, well, up to 5 tiles in height, which means that when we build something like this, generally we can just pick them up and move them anywhere. If we don't burn a lot of level design work when we change stuff, because changing those ports is quite easy. There's this concept that we have called the one tile tax, which is usually whenever we want to make major changes to something, we usually only end up having to move 1 tile's worth of stuff.
So yeah, this is the standard socket size, right? Isn't it? It's often this one.
4 is the most common. 3 and 4 are the most common. And yeah, it means we can just pick this up. I know where this is going to live already, so fear not. No work is wasted there.
No, as I was going to say, the good thing is, like, it's rare that something is completely scrapped at this stage, because this is a cool little setup, and, you know, it is a good reinforcer for Wall Run way back when.
Yep.
It's been moved around a few times, so it's still good. It just doesn't belong there anymore. But yeah, you know, compared to a 3D project, it's actually quite easy to just shuffle them about and make little changes.
Yeah, I've just thought, actually, it could possibly also, if we can do it in reverse, it could also go on the bottom route. So the purpose of this bottom route that we're doing here to do that unlock is to start channeling you along under that bridge to get you down here to the mushroom farm, which is where mushrooms are a very exciting time. So maybe we could employ it in getting down to there from there, because that is a problem we have to solve. Whether we're going to be doing it from under the bridge, or whether we're going to get the player to just go back to tutorial.
I mean, so
and that Wall Run that they should have.
Yeah, we can talk about it a bit. So this bit, yeah, it's been a whole thing to get it to work. But I remember around the time of sort of deciding this started to make sense was also that beyond that we wanted to try and push people down this way, and also this gap here between the start of the tutorial and these tiles here was an opportunity to use some kind of one-way door, you know, not a literal one, just something that's like, hey, well, once you've unlocked it from here, you can always go between these two. And at one point, I felt like the most suitable thing was going to be something along the lines of like an active version of this thing you see holding these. So it could either be higher or lower or whatever, and you would be able to activate it only from the top, and then it would move to a position that was actually, you know, more useful for Wall Run or whatever. But actually, when we were talking about it the other day, I realized that a combination of to make our lives easier, and genuinely, I think it makes more sense. That maybe this is where we try whatever our equivalent of the, you know, kicking down the ladder or throwing down a rope or something makes more sense, because I remember why. I didn't just do this because I'm lazy. It's also because this kind of setup, these kind of movable platforms, makes sense to be shown at the same time as another unlock. I think they'll work really well together. So I wanted to save that. Just catch them on the chat set. So Cryptic Hybrid says, will this whole area be loaded in one go, or will we do some subsection transitions? I believe technically, I think we probably won't have too much trouble having it all loaded at once. However, I mean, this is not something I've, you know, discussed, so it's just me saying out loud. Sometimes the transitions are nice, you know, all the Metroid style ones, I quite like them. So I don't think we will need them, but I haven't, you know, I think it might be nice to have some to accent some changes.
So where we are right now on streaming, I guess, and separate levels is almost certainly no separate levels. So the level that we're looking at right now is our cut down demo version of the world map, which contains I don't know how much of this is of what we've got in terms of real estate.
Not
like
that much.
less than a sixth, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to boast, but so yeah, it's all loaded. Everything's loaded, nothing's streamed. And because it's tile maps and flipbook actors and those kind of things, the assets are actually very, very small in memory. So potentially we never actually need to stream anything. So the entire world can be loaded in one go, which is very powerful. It means we won't have to do loading. I think if we do anything, the most likely thing we'll do is use points of interest to feel like that. So points of interest, consider rooms. So it'll center on a room, and when you reach the edge of that room, as you go through the door, it'll transition to the center.
Yeah, that kind of thing I think might be nice. To be, but yeah, not.
If we wanted to cheat it, we totally
5
could. We could have a door, and we could fade down, teleport you to the other side of it, and fade up. But we don't need to do that. So if it's a stylistically cool thing for us to do to emulate that, then we will. But I kind of think that if you were able to get in a time machine and go back in time to any team of Metroidvania creators and say, hey, by the way, how do you feel about not loading anything ever?
Yes.
They'd take your hand
totally.
off.
I mean, I'm thinking like, I cannot discuss further to spoilers, but I'm thinking like maybe there's 1 or 2 places in the entire game, like traveling between certain locations. I think I might like, a more traditional transition, just because I feel like, it's like a palate cleanser, like going between these 2 quite different areas. It might be quite nice, but I might hate it. The cool thing is, as you said, we don't need it. We'll use it if we like it, but we shouldn't require it.
But in terms of actually the complexities of loading separate levels and maintaining data in terms of game progress, etc., into a new level, that kind of stuff, no, we won't do that. If we get away with just loading one level, we'll just load one level, and if we need to handle transitions, we'll fake them. And hide them behind fade.
So yes, thinking about this, as I said, obviously there's still, we've still got to tidy up around here and build this back up a bit. But yeah, again, something would fit neatly between here. But the idea of somewhere in this area, like, you kicking down a rope or something, I think that's quite nice, because then again, not only the first time you come round, because we'll be able to control this kind of flow, we will, we'll know that you're likely to be heading down this way anyway, and it will bring you towards this, which we want. But also, I just like that you're getting that, Metroidvania hit that you go, oh yeah, I remember this, and this was actually, previously to go from obviously here to here would take comparatively ages, and now it's like, oh, well, that's really quick. I like that. And also, hey, there's nothing in here to support this yet, but just, to say how it's nice to try and build these things. It's like, hey, well, maybe if we had the thing that lets the lockpick or anything that allows you to unlock doors is somewhere down here, then the cool thing is the first locked door you saw is here or something. So, you're just kind of joining stuff together in what always, we discussed it before, it always seems to be this kind of figure 8 shape. That seems to be the good stuff for Metroids. So, yes.
So yeah, I'm just saying, so for pushing this brief forward, something that occurs to me now is if you look at the bridge, so say if we picked up Ghoul or Gull, I always forget whether he's Ghoul or Gull, I should ask Ian. But if he was on the other side of the bridge underneath, in the bottom of the tower on the other side, he feels like a reasonable reward for having got over there to me, because he's going to give you a quest marker, he's going to explain to you a little bit about cultists and why cultists are bad. It's just something you should all know already. Cultists are bad.
Yes.
But, in case it needs reaffirming, he's going to do that. And then that's a good encounter there, rather than putting him over there with no home. And then if you've got your kick ladder somewhere nearby to take you down into that space down there, and you can't get up there because you have to open a grate to be able to open that shortcut into that tower, that'll drive the player naturally the direction we want them to go, which is down that ladder and back into tutorial town to that wall run that they missed.
Don't get me wrong, this isn't quite right, but in terms of changes we made and how we've managed to make it work, going from here to here doesn't seem insurmountable.
No.
It's doable.
And particularly if we get a shortcut down into there, that means you come from there to the left side of that bridge. I think that's really cool. And the nice thing with Gull being there is he's going to give you markers that push you towards the Sandglass Shrine, which is, all impetus that we want the player to have at this point in the game. They should be going down to the mushroom farm, but they should care about the food store, and they should care about the Sandglass Shrine.
Yeah.
They certainly will care about the
The Slandgrass.
Oh,
Shrine.
words, Chris. The Slandgrass Salon. Once they've talked to that guy. So,
Yeah.
but really, we want them to be coming down here to deal with all this guff,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess is a topic for another time.
It is, yeah. Because we're getting there. I mean, so this is coming on, and hopefully, you know, I mean, actually, realistically, I suppose next year this will be finished up, and then we can soon start talking about this. But as I said, we can see, you know, it's starting to come together. It's been a nice mix of like planned stuff, you know, from up high. It's like, well, we need to go this way and this way and this way, and you know, more opportunistic stuff of recognizing things that are working and developing. As I said, like this room, I think it's you that's saying, isn't it? It's probably had like
it is the most revised tile map in the game.
Yeah.
I haven't checked that, but I am confident that this tile map has seen more edits than any other tile map, and it's just because it happened to end up in a really important place for being a nexus of the game, which we didn't plan.
No.
It just so happened that once we built this thing, you ended up crossing through here a lot. So we needed to maximize on that. So I suppose linking into what you were saying, you plan a lot, but the really cool stuff comes when you've executed all your plans and you start spotting ways to ruin them to make them a little bit better.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You have to move a whole damn bridge.
I mean, I think this was something I was saying to you, like, I used to feel like, hey, it's a classic game dev thing in general, but, you know, a bit of imposter syndrome when I'd be working on other games, and I'd be like, oh, well, I planned all this stuff, and it didn't really work, and then I almost accidentally made this thing, and I was like, you know, not to be too hard on ourselves, you go, well, you still have to recognize that you've nearly got a thing, and, like, develop it. You know, it's like, okay, we spotted that accidentally this room had made this shape, and these places seemed important, but hopefully, you know, you can see that it still is taking work to make it actually do the thing that we spotted. Yeah, and sorry, just check in. So Cryptic Hybrid says, once you get the lockpick, will it be a permanent item in your belt, or will it break and you'll have to find more?
Ooh, why not both? So yes,
Keith is raging right now because he already answered.
All of these options have been discussed. I mean, even to the degree of so obviously, you know, we don't have a weapon at this point in the game. So there's a question to us whether weapons are a permanent thing. We've got the knockout weapon, which is the virtuous weapon of kings. If you have to attack, you know, if you're not good enough to avoid everything, then please do knock them out. Don't do the stabby. That's mean. But if you do the stabby, do we want to give you a permanent kill resource, or do we want breakable shivs? Do we want you to earn that permanent kill resource? If you're the kind of guy who really doesn't care and is going to go running around murdering everything anyway, then, you know, you should work for that. And similar with lockpicks is, do we give people a limited amount early on, which are consumable, just so that we can control how many locks they can pick early on in the game? And then once they've passed a particular threshold, we can give you the golden pick, you know, and say, knock yourself out.
I think there's stuff to explore that. I think for me, it's like, I feel like you can probably control some of it by how long it takes to pick them and what's nearby. But I do like the idea of having some things like that. Yeah, some things where you know, it's a limited amount of choice. So I think the way some stealth games do this, and I can't remember which, because it's not Thief, this feels more like a Splinter Cell or other game type thing, where you can have ones that are disposable, but they're really fast and or silent. You know, and the normal one is of moderate noise, and, you know, takes a while. So, you know, if you're not good enough or you want to try and exploit a particular area, then yeah, you can use this, I don't know, super lockpick or whatever. That's great. Or you've got, yeah, but the space to explore, I guess that's the way to leave it. It's like, yeah, we've got the basic functionality for it, which we should definitely revive. Like, but there's stuff to explore there because, hey, we won't dive into it too much here because it's a whole can of worms. But I think we spent a long time sort of going, oh, well, you know what, we're never going to need any shop or items or anything because it doesn't really make sense. And then actually things like this start to give you an opportunity to introduce that thing. And, you know, they start to justify it. And also there's the realization that actually they can be really fun characters to have, even though they don't make any sense. everyone who's played Resident Evil 4 loves the
What are you
merchant.
buying?
I mean, how could you not? I mean, and he obviously makes absolutely no sense. But he's great. And, so I guess, again, this is a thing of like responding to what we have. We're not confirmed one way or the other, but something to point out is these kind of safe area things have developed from sort of nothing. And so this feels like you'd have a guy like that, maybe. And then if, what are you giving and trading to do that? So maybe, I guess that's the thing. My gut feeling is you'll have some basic pick, that can do stuff, but we can design things to make it that's not enough quite easily. Obvious example, you have a guy, because if you still don't have a weapon, you have a guy that's patrolling back and forth, and there's a door, and you basically just don't have time. Or you need to do something really skillful to do it. But if you had a better one, you'd be able to get around it. That kind of thing. We'll see. We'll explore it. But I think that is everything for now. I mean, we're looking pretty good for the thing in December.
We've spent most of the stream talking about stuff that's off the demo route.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just bugs now, which aren't
broken prompts.
Super exciting.
Got to fix those prompts.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith. I know which ones are broken now.
Yeah, we all do now.
Yes.
Yeah, broken prompts. Making sure the player characters are all right. I mean, we're going to be starting with package builds from next week anyway. Rex has just informed me that. Well, I think he's informed all of us that Thunderbird's our go with regards to package builds again. So that's good, because that's going to be the next 2 weeks. Is not so much hammering those, because I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
But just playtesting that, making sure it's right, and making sure that we're going to get the playtest information out of this second round of focus testing that we hope to get.
Yes. But I think that's everything, right? Nothing else?
No, I'd just be teasing with things like future audio and
future audio,
highly futuristic audio.
Yeah,
we've got some cool stuff going on with the synth and sampler and dynamic music system. That's been discussed now, and is something that we will be starting to build next week. So hopefully we can manage some more audio technology focused stream in the future, which would be
definitely.
Super. But we'll have to see how quickly that stuff comes along. But I'm really excited about that stuff, because I've not
it's
seen
gonna be
good dynamic music systems in games since the 90s. So.
I know, right?
Hey.
Okay, yeah, but I think that's everything. So thank you very much for watching. I've realised I won't be here next week because there is another London Unreal meeting, the last one of the year, and I promised I would go. But I'll definitely sneak in something before the end of the year, because we should wrap up all these demos and stuff like that. But beyond that, we'll keep going, and the audio stuff will be soon. So thank you very much for watching. See you later.